college almost 4 years ago with only 3 students enrolled, and now we currently have up to 300 students. It was always my dream to have a beauty college that was geared towards the working adult. However, now that I've been running the school, I realize that I don't really enjoy managing people and some of the stresses that come with it. As I'm approaching 40, I kind of want to transition to being more of a happy wife and a present mom. However, I am deciding if I should sell the business of my school or just continue to grow it. If you could please help me or give me some advice. I've been following you for such a long time, and I've heard some of your thoughts on, starting a business just to sell it, which wasn't my intention, but this is where I'm at. If you can give me any help, that would be so great. Thank you, Barbara.
300 students. I was amazed. I actually checked the numbers, seeing if we had gotten it wrong in 4 years. How the heck did you do that? That is not an easy feat. Not at all.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, it's been a journey. With COVID-19, we had to shut down schools, but we were allowed to go online, which actually ended up working very well for a lot of stay-at-home moms or people that, couldn't go to campus.
You're saying, Amy, COVID helped you?
It did. Well, we had to pivot, and then we made it work by going online. So, and students were able to enroll from all over.
I'm curious whether when you went online, did you close your physical school?
No, we stayed open.
Yeah, and you have one location? I wasn't sure.
Yes, one location.
And what percentage of your students now come physically to class, and what percentage are just taking it online?
I would say about 60 online, 40 in person.
Okay, that's terrific. It's hard to straddle both areas and do both well. Usually something's got to give and doesn't do so well, but it seems like you've accomplished that. What I would think, looking at you, that you would have the easiest time in the world managing people. You're pretty, you're likable, you have good energy. I would think it would be like child's play for you to manage people. What part of it don't you like?
I feel like I'll have a good team meeting, and the directives are very clear. And then but I'm also in the beauty industry, so I think we're a lot more free spirited. So that might be part of it. But yeah, sometimes I feel like I have to micromanage in order to make sure things are run properly, and I don't want to babysit adults.
Okay. Do you feel that you give directives and people don't pay attention to you generally, or you give directives to some people who don't pay attention to you, others are fine?
I think people pay attention for sure. I think that sometimes they don't just complete all of their tasks. So.
And could you give me an example of what that might look like? In other words, who would you be directing, what their position would be, what you'd expect of them, and then where do they fall short?
So I have a director of education and a director of operations. And I think my director of education, like if I want them to make sure that they're with the educators to make sure they're supported so that the students are supported. Maybe if there's conflict on that side, sometimes I don't think that the director may want to address those issues. So I'll say, hey, I need you to speak with, this instructor. We've had a few complaints about, lectures not being posted on time, and that follow through may not happen.
I see. That's disastrous for your business because that's called quality control. And then, of course, the problem becomes your problem again. Yeah, that's very discouraging. How about with your operations director?
Very similar. Operations is more marketing, customer service. So again, that's very important to me. But sometimes the ball is dropped there. Yeah. Okay. So I feel like if I could clone myself, I think I would be okay. But
I think we all would like to do that, but it just doesn't actually work that way, right? May I ask you, those are your two directors. They're your two head honchos, right? How long have they worked for you?
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. And how old are your children, by the way, Amy?
4 and 16.
You just lit up. Oh, so you probably feel the pull too of spending more time with your 4-year-old, I would imagine, right?
Well, both, yeah, because 16-year-olds, they need their, they're in that weird stage. So
Okay. How did you find your directors? Did you interview a lot of people, or did they were they one of your students and you took a fancy to them and hired them for the job? Oh, how did that happen?
they were hired as instructors first, and they did really well. And so they got promoted.
Mhm. And you promoted them from being instructors to being directors because they were good at instruction?
Yes, and at that time, organization. Yes.
An organization as well. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, you could try to sell your business. It's never easy to sell a business when you want to sell it. Somehow very easy to sell it. Somebody approaches you when you don't want to sell it. I don't know why it works that way, but you could attempt to sell your business. But I just wonder if it's might be premature. May I ask you, do you have contact with your, and I'll get back to what I was saying, do you have contact with your individual students, like you're talking with them as part of the course material? Are you a factor, or are you working always behind the scenes?
On campus, I'm a factor. And in the beginning of COVID, I was very present. But now that we have full instructors, I'm not as present online. But on campus, I'm very hands-on.
And why would you not be more present online with your face and your talent, your salesmanship, and your ability to make people like you? Why do you opt not to? I'm not criticizing you. I'm just curious your thinking on it.
Well, I think because I'm wearing other hats, so, but yeah, I'm wearing so many hats, even though I have directors, like still HR and still payroll and still marketing. But I could step on there.
Well, no, I'll give you my honest reaction to you, okay? And then you can choose to ignore me. I think you have the wrong people in those spots. I think the idea that you set people up, one to take care of education, one operation, it's easy to find an education person through pirating a good teacher. If they decide what should be educated, what the curriculum is, what they should change, what students they could attract. I mean, all that kind of thing. It's easy to find a person like that from teachers, but to find a good operations person ain't so easy. You almost want an executive secretary. I wouldn't call it an executive secretary, but with operations, you want someone who is buttoned up, like a number 10 on their ability to get buttoned up. You almost want a business partner, or someone that you could rely on for anything that's mechanical, the nuts and bolts of running a business, so that you could be free to fly and do what you do well. I can tell what you do well. It's not operations. It's not your thing. I mean, you could probably organize yourself and get it together. Probably part of the reason why the follow through is not happening is probably I would guess your instruction is probably not as clear or crystal clear or as mechanical as it needs to be to run an organization. Who do you know that could work opposite you with an opposite skill set? Really organized, loves to solve problems, get their hands dirty, jump in there. Not even necessarily a nice person. You know what I mean? You don't even need a big personality for that. You need somebody like a good army person. You know anybody in the army? No, I'm serious. I know you know someone. Of 300 people, there's got to be some kind of a little tough person that you can use. I think you
Army.
just wrong people in those jobs, honestly.
I will think about it. I do know some tough people.
Among the 300 people, you don't really know those 300, right?
No.
Is there a way you could get to know them? Among 300 people, when I built a business, by the time I had 50 people that I knew, I had a lot of people with different talents I tapped into. 300 people is a mass of minds. Somebody there, if not 3 or 4 people, are good. But how could you get to know them better? Because you not knowing them is a disadvantage to yourself. Because you can't find your among the people that are in your circle. How can you get to know them? Is it a one-way or a two-way street when they're taking courses online?
It's both. You know, we have live lectures, we live stream.
You participate in the live lectures?
I do not.
That's a shame.
Okay.
If I signed up for your beauty school online or in person, I would want someone to emulate, someone with your energy, someone who motivate people. That's as important as the technical knowledge, of course. You know, I think you're crazy to hide the gold in the closet, which is what you're doing.
Okay.
You know, really. And instead, you're working behind the scenes, messing with the straightening out the closet. You're supposed to be the gold, the front man, you know? And somebody else is supposed to follow up for you. But I think you just have the wrong people. And I also think you're probably not a great director to direct them, but somebody else could be.
Okay. How would I learn those skills until I found somebody to like have better, clear directives?
There's a lot you could do. One, do you have face-to-face meetings with them, or is it by email directions?
Face-to-face.
That's terrific. Okay. I've gotten in the habit my whole life because I move fast and I sometimes give direction that's not so clear. And I've gotten much better at it by always saying to the person, could you tell me what you just heard? By making feel that they do this idea, can you tell me what our deal is? I just want to make sure I'm communicating well. So I don't put it on anybody. I always put it on myself. Can you just repeat to me what you think you heard? Okay. And then you see all the blips along the way. I happen to think that's a great way to manage people. But again, if you're managing the wrong person and they tell you what they heard and they aren't really capable of doing it, it's not going to help you. You need the right raw material. You know what I like to ask, even in the interview, which I think is so telling, on a scale of 1 to 10, how organized are you?
Okay.
People who say 7 and 8, I never hire for anything. Because honest to God, unless you have someone organized in every position, they just don't come through for you. You know? Unless they're running the company, maybe, but you're running the company. Yeah. I would hate to see you give up your business right now or sell it, because obviously you have a gift for development. You have a gift for making something small big. I mean, 300 people in 4 years is honestly amazing. What if you had 3,000 people and you could sell your business for 60 million?
Woo! Yeah, girl.
What if you had 300 people and you couldn't sell your business, but the more mass you have, the more sellable it is? What if you knew you could be a millionaire in a couple of years if you could get the right people working for you, and if you could put your beautiful face and energy front and center? I bet you'd be motivated to find the right people.
Yeah, I like that.
So I would just advertise for one person. Need someone to run education and all operations of a growing beauty school business.
Okay.
And why don't you promise to interview 20 people? Great salary, great atmosphere, great growth. That's what everybody wants to hear. And if you interviewed 20 people on Skype or on FaceTime, you would find a winner. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Hey, it's me, Amy, with Aspire with Amy and 3D Lash and Brow, and I'm super excited to talk to you today about Barbara Corcoran. So I was able to be on her podcast. I called in and I had a question where I asked basically, I was ready to sell my business, because at that point running a school was basically running me and my life, and I was like, do I really want to do this, or do I just want to stay and focus on being a happy wife and a mother to 2 daughters? But after I spoke to Barbara Corcoran, she put things into perspective for me that, number one, inspired me and helped me to kind of shift my business tremendously. One of the things I was struggling with, and the advice she gave me, was giving good direction. So here I am thinking that I have a meeting with my team and I'm like, this is what we should do or whatnot. And then afterwards it's not being done. And I'm like, dang, I thought I was clear. And she told me, you're probably not as clear as you think because you got too many things going on. So this is what you do. She was like, after you have your meeting with the person, you ask them, say, hey, just to make sure that we're on the same page, could you repeat back to me what we discussed, just to make sure I was as clear as I could be? And then you have that person restate what the conversation was. And then you'll find, number one, were you clear? Or number two, did they actually interpret it the way you thought that they were supposed to interpret it? And then that will help to, again, oh, actually, no, thank you, but, and that'll help you to clear up that communication. And that has helped my business so much with leadership, and has prevented a lot of waste of time. because again, we're on the same page. We leave that meeting now knowing exactly what both the parties were talking about. Another thing she mentioned was hiring. So one of the things I was struggling with in my organization was organization. I had some leaders that maybe didn't have as much follow through at that time, and so she said, anytime you interview somebody, ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how organized are they? She said she never hires anybody that says a 7 or 8. She said you need to hire people who are 9s and 10s in all aspects of your business, whether it's front desk to clinic floor to all of that, 9s and 10s. And I was like, okay. That really shifted my perspective, because me personally, I don't know how I would answer that question, but yeah, I think that was pretty cool. So now that's what I ask people in my interviews. I'm like, 8, 9, 10, what are you? And so they kind of look at me crazy when I say that, but it really, because people who are organized, they're like, no, I'm a 9 and a 10, or I'm a 9.5. Some people be like, I'm 11, So another thing she mentioned too was to not keep the gold in the closet. So because I was struggling with just kind of managing everything, doing payroll, all the back end stuff, I wasn't as much in the forefront of my business. And she was like, why are you not like teaching? Why are you not in front? If I was going to your school, I want to make sure that I had interactions with you. Or if I'm an online student, I want to make sure that I'm able to be on presence with you. And I had kind of shied back a little bit because, number one, sometimes people, again, there's haters, sometimes people get jealous, and sometimes people are intimidated. I am, even though I'm older, I look like a young Black woman, and a lot of times my employees are older women. So at first, sometimes they would come to my organization like, oh, I'm here to help this young Black woman, but then they realize, okay, well, it is still a job, and sometimes it didn't always go the best way. But I took the advice from Barbara Corcoran and was like, yeah, I'm going to be more present, which is why I'm doing videos like this and teaching more and trying to have more people help on the back end side of things. So those are just a few things that I learned from Barbara Corcoran in our 15-minute podcast call, which again has really just changed my business. She said, make sure that you hire people that will help you, so that way you're not feeling weighed down by the weight of being an entrepreneur. So that is my 15 minutes with Barbara Corcoran. Make sure you subscribe to Aspire with Amy YouTube, to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and whatever else there is, I'm on it. Okay, so thank you. Bye.